This video will introduce you to the Infinite Exam Simulator for PRINCE2 Foundation. So this is the interface here when you go into it. The number of questions is 60, the duration is 60 minutes, and the pass rate is just 55%. So let me zoom in a little bit here to make it easier. The number of variety of questions is over 400,000, and down here we have these bars here. We have exposure to concepts, so that's exposure to the whole syllabus, all the different parts. And then the fluency here is, well, how fluent are we and are we prepared for the exam? So anywhere above here, of course, is good. We are prepared for the exam. These are my previous attempts down here because I was testing the environment and I added most of the questions. So let's go through this. I will click on Start and then I will go through a full exam. I will comment on each question. And probably one or two I will get wrong because I go very quickly and don't think properly, but that's a good example also. Okay, so let's begin. So I click on Start. So this is the interface here. On the top we have the numbers of questions, and here we have the questions down here. So the first question. Using lessons from previous projects to help identify and manage issues that may happen in the future is a minimum requirement for which theme? Okay, so using lessons from previous projects to help identify and manage issues that may happen is a minimum requirement for which theme? So let's look at the themes here. We have quality, risk, cost management, and scope. So the only theme that it could be is quality management. What is a special type of requirement document used to gain agreement from the user on the project scope and requirements? Okay, so the keywords here are requirements document, used to first gain agreement from the user on the project scope and requirements. So the very first document that we write down the requirements is in the starting of a project process, and that's this one here, project product description. What is the correct definition of a PRINCE2 project according to PRINCE2? Let's go through them all and see which one stands out. A project is a temporary organization that is created to deliver products of value to the organization which will deliver benefits. Okay, that sounds okay. A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. That's good. That's the PMI definition. A project is a temporary organization that is created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products according to an agreed business case. That also sounds good. A project is an individual or collaborative enterprise that is carefully planned to achieve a particular aim. Okay, this is also good, but it's not PRINCE2, so it's between this one, and it's this one because it always ends in one or more business products according to an agreed business case. So just be familiar with the term. What is a situation where it can be forecasted that there will be a deviation beyond the agreed tolerance levels? So this is to do with tolerance, and every time you think of tolerance, you should always think of exception. So this would be an exception. Identify the missing words in the following sentence. The role of somebody is assigned to the project manager if it is not allocated to another person. Okay, so it must be a role then the project manager can give out to somebody else and they must do the work themselves, and that's project support. Which PRINCE2 principle advises that a project should have 3 primary stakeholders? This is to do with the organization principle, the organization theme as well. So that would be, let's go through them, issue management. That would be the defined roles and responsibilities. Fill in the missing words. The something management product is created in the controlling a stage process. Okay, so let's see which one is created there. An exception report, that can be created there. Team plan, no. Product descriptions, no. And the last one, no either. So it's exception report. Identify a minimum requirement for the progress team. So progress is about controlling the project or monitoring and reporting on the project and on tolerances as well. So let's go through them. Define the roles and responsibilities for the team planning, as this will help to manage changes. Okay, that's wrong. Tolerances should be set for each level of the project by the project board, and the project should also use the manage by exception principle. So that sounds okay, but I think there's something wrong. Tolerances should be set for each level by the project board. That's not correct. Use detailed highlight reports to show progress. So that's a bit of an oxymoron, detailed highlight reports. Review the business case when exceptions arise and learn from lessons. That's definitely it. If a management stage is forecasted to be exceeded in 2 weeks, which level is alerted? So the management stage is where the project manager works, so we have to go to the level above, and that would be the project board. Which role monitors all aspects of project's performance and products independently of the project manager and reports to the project board? Okay, so which role, let's go through the question again. Which role monitors all aspects of the project performance independently of the project manager and reports directly to the project board? So let's go through them. The senior user, well, no, they will just monitor from the user point of view. Project board, that's the project board itself. It doesn't make sense. The team manager, no. So it's project assurance. And there are 3 types of project assurance. What product usually follows an exception report and will be requested by the project board? So if we have a big issue, which is an exception, the project manager will create an exception report. They will send this to the project board, and the project board then will normally ask for an exception plan to replace the current plan that they are using. What is the person or a group who commissioned the work and will benefit from the end results? Okay, let's go through these to see which makes sense. Customer, that sounds okay. A release, it's got nothing to do with this. A problem, it's a type of issue, and planning is an activity. So it'll be a customer, and it does make sense. The customer usually uses the products which are created by the project, and they pay for the project. Maintain some kind of issue register to keep track of issues and decisions for these issues. It is a minimum requirement for which team. So issue management here, issue management is related to the change theme. So often people get mixed up between progress and change. What is the project's board responsibilities to assure itself that the project is being conducted correctly? Okay, let's go through that again. What is the project's board responsibilities to assure itself that the project is conducted correctly? Okay, we actually touched on this already in a previous question. That's where they have a responsibility to go out and to check that everything is going okay as reported by the project manager, and that's called project assurance. A number of management products are updated during the stage boundary process. Identify one of these. Okay, so the keywords here are updated and the stage boundary process. So we have the end stage report, that's created. The end project report, no. The initial stage plan, nope. And the business case, yeah. The business case and the project plan are updated in the stage boundary process. PRINCE2 provides progress control from one level to another through which of the following? Okay, let's read the answers to see what we get here. Using time boxes to keep the team focused on delivering all the items in a certain time frame or time box. Time-driven and event-driven progress reporting and reviews. Providing a change budget for changes proposed by the program environment. Okay, that doesn't make much sense either. Stand-up meetings between the team members and each, stand-up meetings between team members each morning. Okay, that doesn't make sense either. So let's go to the question again. PRINCE2 provides progress control from one level to another through which of the following? So it's this one here, time-driven and event-driven reports. So there are a number of mechanisms that they can be used to control each level below, and that's one of them. Which document is not created in any PRINCE2 process? All right, let's go through this. The highlight report, no documents, draft, project mandate. Okay, that's the project mandate. So that's created outside the project and actually before the project starts. A PRINCE2 is a core value that must always exist in a PRINCE2 project. Which one of the following is not a PRINCE2 principle? All right, let's go through them. Focus on products. That sounds good. Tailor to suit the project. Continued business justification also sounds good. So it's this one here. So it's a good idea to be familiar with the names. You don't have to remember them or to know them all, but to be able to recognize them is important. PRINCE2 consists of 4 main parts, which are also referred to as elements or integrated elements. Which one is a PRINCE2 element? Okay, let's go through them. PRINCE2 components, no. Themes, that sounds good because we have themes, processes as well. Sections and stages, so it's themes. Fill in the missing word. The something will be updated by the project manager during the project if expected benefits are realized during the project. So some document will be updated by the project manager during the stage boundary process if the expected benefits are realized during the project. Okay, so that will be the benefits management document because that's where we manage benefits during the project. And this can be updated, not always, in the stage boundary process of a project. What is the last step in define and analyze the products? Okay, so this is where there are 4 steps here. So let's go through them to see which one. So create the product breakdown structure. That happens at the beginning. I think that's step 2. Prepare the schedule. Document the plan, or create the product flow diagram. So these are steps in planning, but this is define and analyze products. So it's this one. Create the product flow diagram. Sometimes it can happen the same time as a product breakdown structure, but we say it happens at the end. Fill in the missing words. The activity, evaluate the project, takes place in which process? Okay, so let's go through. So when might this happen, evaluate the project? Well, probably we should look back then on the whole project. So it has to happen near the end of the project, and therefore it would happen in the closing of project process. Which PRINCE2 principle ensures that projects enable governments by clearly defining accountability at each level, so each level can control the level below by setting tolerances? Okay, it has that word again, tolerances. So I'm always thinking of exceptions when I see this. Normally we might think of accountability, you might think of defined roles and accountability, but it's this one here. Managed by exception. The project manager decides to break down the project into sequential sections. Which principle is being applied? Let's go through them. So which one has got something to do with sequential sections? And that's actually stages. So we have continued business justification. No. Managed by stages, that sounds good. Managed by benefits, no. Managed by exception, no. Which PRINCE2 or which principle requires that all projects should have a valid financial reason for starting the project, and this must remain valid? Okay, so this financial reason, we should be thinking of the business case, and the executive is responsible for the business case, and they will make sure this is always kept up to date, and there is a business justification to keep the project up and running. So that would be continued business justification. What is a procedure that ensures that all changes that may affect the project's agreed objectives are identified, assessed, and then approved, rejected, or deferred? Okay, again, what is a procedure that ensures that all changes that may affect the project's agreed objectives are identified, assessed, then approved, rejected, or deferred? Okay, so this is something to do with the change theme, and that's the change control process of the change control technique. Is this one here. Which management product does the project board use along with the next stage plan to decide to authorize the next stage or close the project? Okay, so it gets the next stage plan at the end of the stage boundary process. So which other one would it get then? It never gets the work packages. It does get the end stage report, and the last two, no. So the next stage plan and the end stage report are created in the stage boundary process. What is the threshold level of uncertainty referred to as? Okay, whenever we see uncertainty, it's probably indicating something to do with risk. And threshold levels, that's again exceptions and tolerances. So the answer here would be risk tolerances. To which level does the project manager assign work to be done? So products to be created. Okay, so the project manager is working in the managing level, they report to the project board in the directing level, and the work is created or delivered in the delivering level. Define roles and responsibilities for planning and using lessons to improve planning are a minimum requirement for which theme? Okay, again, defining the roles and responsibilities for planning and using lessons for planning. So this is very much focused on planning. So you can automatically or think that this is the plans theme. In which process does the activity authorize a project to take place? Okay, let me read that again. In which process does the activity authorize the project to take place? Okay, so authorize the project. That's the activity name. This is done by the project board because it's their decision, and they only work in the directing a project process. What term is used to describe the activities you take to enable you to identify, assess, and control uncertainties? So whenever we see uncertainties, that's to do with risk, and the procedure is identify, assess, and control. So that will be risk management. Giving ad hoc direction is an activity done by the project board in which process? That's very much related to the question we just had. That's the activity name, and that happens in the directing a project process. Identify the management product that shows the planning for the project products and associated costs is a major control document for the project. Okay, so one of these documents has got this information in it. So it shows the major products that will be produced by the project and the cost, and is a control document, and that's the project plan. Have at least 2 management stages is a minimum requirement for which theme? Okay, now this can be tricky, but let's see what we'll do. So the plans theme, you might think it could be the plans theme. The change theme, no. Quality is got nothing to do with quality. And progress is about monitoring the project. So it's between progress and plans. So have at least 2 management stages. I will go for plans. I'm not really sure. I always get mixed up between these. So I will go for this. What is used to capture and maintain information on all of requests of changes or problems that are being managed formally? So what is used to capture and maintain on all requests for changes? Okay, all right. So request for changes is the type of issue, and this is part of the change team, and we will use the issue register to track changes or to track issues that we need to handle formally. Projects have a number of characteristics, which is how projects differ from business as usual or a repeating process. So which of the following is considered a project or a common project characteristic? Let's go through them one by one. Long, no, because some projects can be short. Risk-free, then we never have a risk-free project. Expensive, no, some projects can cost less than others. Something unique in every project, definitely. In which management product is the scope of the project first described? Okay, the key word here is scope and first described. So that's a requirements document. And the first requirements document we have is in the starting of a project process, and that's in the project product description. Which document is used to replace the stage plan and project plans, but not the team plans? Okay, so the keyword here is replace the stage plan and project plans. So when will we ever replace these plans is when we have an exception and we need to create an exception plan to do that. So that would be exception plan. Identify the missing word in the following sentence. PRINCE2 assumes that each project will have a customer and something. Okay, this is something you just have to know in PRINCE2. So we say that PRINCE2 is based on a customer-supplier environment. Produce an exception plan to replace existing management plans for exceptions where needed is a minimum requirement for which team? So to produce an exception plan, that's something to do then with the planning team. Okay, so I would say that's for that. What is the name of the entire management structure of the project board and the project manager? Okay, so the structure of it. So that's the layout of who's who in the project, and that is the project management team. Which management document is updated during the closing a project process by the project manager to plan meetings that will take place after the project is closed? Okay, so it's a management document that is updated during the closing a project process, and it will be used after the project is closed. So all documents are archived at the end of the project, mostly except for one, and that is the benefits management approach, which is given to the level above, to the project board, and they give it to the program, and they will monitor future benefits. The project manager ensures that the attention of the project needs to be on what the project is supposed to produce and not on the activities. Which principle is being applied here? For this one, let's go through the principle and see. Focus on products is about defining the requirements before the work starts. So work is related to activities. So this sounds good. Continued business justification has got nothing to do with this. Neither has defined roles or product-based planning. This is not even a principle. So it's focused on products where it really says define the product up front, get this agreed, and only then hand out the work to be done. Fill in the blank. So something provides change management services to the project and reports to the project manager. Okay. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. Something provides configuration management services. All right, so a responsibility for project support is administration. And one of the administration things that the project support do is to deal with configuration management. So making sure that all documents are in the right place, that the configuration item records are up to date and so on. So that's project support. One of these activities takes place in the closing a project process. Which one? Okay, so let's go through them all. The closing a project process is where the project manager prepares a project for closure. Receive completed work packages. No, that's done in the controlling stage process. Recommend project closure. That sounds good. Design and appoint the project management team. That happens at the very beginning of the project. And update the project plan. That also happens here. So here I would say it's this one. It sounds a better answer, even though this could also be possible. Okay, so I will go for this one. Maybe I'm wrong, and it's good to have one or two wrong answers anyway, because we can then show you how easy it is to review questions at the end. Okay, let's flag this as well. We'll see that it'll be orange in a second. We can come back to it later if needed. Fill in the missing word. PRINCE2 states that a project is based on a customer, supplier, something. Okay, we had that already, and that's customer, supplier, environment. Which report-like product is created on a regular basis by the project manager at a frequency that is defined in project controls? Okay, so let's go through them here. So there are 3 reports listed, and the only one that's defined at a frequency would be the highlight report, and that's used to give it to the project board to let them know how things are going during the controlling stage process. What technique, when used by the project manager, leads to a comprehensive plan based on the creation and delivery of the required outputs? Oh, I did not get that. So let's start again. What technique, when used by the project manager, leads to a comprehensive plan based on the creation and delivery of the required outputs? Okay, let's look at the answers here and see does any of these have anything to do with this question. Change control. No. Residual risk. That's not a technique. Product-based planning is a technique that's used in planning. And problem, no. So it's this one here. Fill in the missing word. The something contains the names of the persons who are accountable for the expected benefits and their required actions help to ensure that the project's outcomes are achieved. Okay, so expected benefits information is gathered by the senior user, and that is put into the benefits management approach. And it also has actions which will be required and when to follow up on these and the expected outcomes. So that would be benefits management approach. Identify one of the 6 project variables of performance. So there are 6, and I always remember them in this order: time, cost, quality, scope, benefits, and risk. I use a technique called tequila sober to remember them. So let's look at these: processes, quality, issues, and supplier, and it's time, cost, quality as the third one. So please remember or find a way to remember these 6. Define approach to communicating and engaging with stakeholders in the CMA document is a minimum requirement of which theme? Okay, so communication and organization go together. Okay, so we don't have a communications team, we have an organization team, and that's one of the documents that's created there, so that will be organization. Which role is the responsibility of the specialist products delivered in the project? Which role is responsible for the quality of the delivery and specialist products. Okay, so normally we might jump to conclusions that this might be the team manager, but the team manager is not listed here. So who's responsible for the team manager or for the supplier side? And that would be the senior supplier, and that's one of the responsibilities that they have. In which process is the activity create a plan for the initiation stage? Okay, so creating a plan for the initiation stage has to be done then before the initiation stage starts. So that would be done in the starting of a project process or the pre-project process. Which of the following documents is a minimum requirement for the change team? Okay, let's look at these. Which one of them has something to do with change? So we have the change control approach, that sounds good. Issue register, definitely. Communication management approach, project product description. So it's between one of these, and I would say it's the issue register, or we got to have some format. I could be wrong, it's one of these two. Okay, so let's go, it's a toss-up here. So let's continue. Which role is permitted to authorize changes to the project that do not exceed a defined budget? Okay, so which role is permitted to authorize changes to the project that do not exceed a defined budget? Okay, so this is about change management, and this can be done by the project board, but they can assign this responsibility to another role called change authority. So that's here. So they will have a change budget to use and order for these changes. The first part of a risk description is due to hot weather and the lack of rain. So what is this that should be an example of? Let me flag that question and send it back. What is this an example of? Is this an example of an impact, the proximity, the cause, or the fallback plan? Okay, so the first part of a risk description always begins with the cause of the risk. So what's this one here? Okay, so click on next. Which principle best supports one of the main values of PRINCE2, which is that a universal project management method that can be applied to take into account the project's environment size? Okay, I immediately know what this is on about, and that's to do with tailoring, whenever you see this here. So that's question is not too difficult. Define how baseline products are created, maintained, and controlled is a minimum requirement for which team? So baseline products are created, that's part of the change team. Maintained and controlled, controlling is part of the change team. So that would be this one here. And then projects are temporary and have an element of uniqueness that makes projects challenging. Which principle helps the project deal with the lack of know-how within the project team? Okay, so let's look at these. Continued business justification, no. Focus on products, not really. Maybe because we get help from team managers to help with them. Manage by exception, no. And learn from experience, definitely yes, because we can invite in help from everybody else. Look at previous projects as well. Okay, so let me get this wrong because I want to have at least, well, I always get 2 or 3 wrong anyway, even though I created most of the questions. But let's get another one wrong. And now I click on finish, and then we can see how I've done. Click on finish. And I got 3 wrong answers. Okay, so this is where now we can review the questions. So I can review all the questions. Here I can review the flag questions or the wrong ones. So let's review the wrong questions and see what happened, where I went too quick. Right, so using lessons from previous projects to help identify and manage issues that may happen in the future is a minimum requirement for which team? Okay, there was something there. So that may happen in the future. That's a risk. and I clicked on quality, which is wrong, and the correct answer is risk. Okay, so that's the problem of going too quickly and giving yourself time to make sure that you understand the question. Let's go to the next one. Which of the following documents is a minimum requirement for the change theme? This is where I had the issue between issue register and change control, and I chose change control and I should have got issue register. Okay, that does happen. I don't know everything. All right, and this is the question where I got wrong on purpose, where the answer was learn from experience, and I chose manage by exception instead. Okay, so that gives you an overview, and then the help text is here to explain why the answer is right or wrong. So this is useful, and you can keep learning by looking at these questions. So if you go back now to the exam dashboard, I can then come down here again and I can see the last exams that I've done. And then again, I can go through this again and review the questions in the future if I wish. I can also review all the questions or just review the ones that I flagged or got wrong again. Okay, so really make use of the information, the help text that's there, because you can really learn a lot from that. Oh, one more thing I want to show you is that if we flag something, for example, if I go back into the questions, I want to report, let's say, I think I have flagged one. This is one that's flagged. Now, why did I flag that? I forget. There was a spelling mistake in one and I flagged it. Ah, yes, this one here. So what you can do if you come across something like that is give us some feedback. And we can say there was a typo, and just click on submit, and then I will receive that. Okay, thanks a lot. I hope you've enjoyed looking at these 60 questions. And if you wish, you can use the Infinite Exam Simulator to go through more questions in the future. Bye-bye.